China is facing one of the most devastating natural disasters in decades. Beginning on July 9, a relentless and prolonged wave of torrential rain descended upon vast regions of the country, causing a flood disaster of historic proportions. What began as a typical seasonal storm, with its record-breaking rainfall and terrifying destructive power, quickly transformed into a national catastrophe, leaving millions of people homeless and completely paralyzing numerous areas. The direct cause of the tragedy has been identified as downpours, like water being poured from the sky, continuing for many consecutive days. The colossal volume of water pushed the nation's river and reservoir systems into a state of critical overload. The result was a devastating domino effect. Major rivers across the region simultaneously burst their banks, submerging everything in their path. The situation worsened as a series of dams, which were supposed to be safety shields, also collapsed or overflowed, unleashing giant water bombs onto downstream areas. Flooding was no longer a risk, but a horrifying reality, sweeping through densely populated areas and leaving a scene of ruin and devastation in its wake.
Torrential rains have struck Guangdong province once again, triggering a fresh wave of floods and widespread.
The level of destruction is unimaginable. In the affected cities and towns, the entire infrastructure has almost completely collapsed. Streets, once the lifelines of transportation, have now vanished, replaced by raging, ferocious rivers. Countless vehicles, from motorcycles and cars to even buses, have been swept away like toys by the thick, muddy currents. Once bustling residential neighborhoods are now deep under a sea of water, with only the rooftops and upper floors of tall buildings visible. In many places, the water has risen so high that it has completely submerged the first and even second floors, turning people's homes into cold, watery graves. In Chongqing, one of China's megacities, residents have witnessed horrifying scenes. Flash floods of immense power unexpectedly swept through urban districts, creating fierce currents that washed away everything in their path. Videos recorded by local residents show sturdy concrete bridges cracking and then collapsing entirely under the weight of the water, while panicked residents screamed, trying every way possible to escape the approaching peril. The disaster was not confined to the ground. The public transportation system was also completely paralyzed as many subway stations were flooded deep underwater. Widespread power outages plunged many neighborhoods into pitch-black darkness, adding to the chaos and fear. Meanwhile, in Sichuan province, residents faced a dreadful dual-threat: floods and landslides. The continuous heavy rains had softened and weakened the soil on the mountainsides, causing a series of serious landslides. Massive rivers of mud and rock buried and blocked many vital transportation routes, completely cutting off communication with remote rural villages and making rescue efforts nearly impossible. Floods on major rivers like the Minjiang and Tuojiang also inundated many towns. Amidst the chaotic scene, emergency sirens blared ceaselessly throughout the districts, an alarm signal as large dams were forced to release floodwaters to avoid the risk of total collapse, even knowing that this action would worsen the flooding situation downstream. In Hubei, a region already on edge due to the rising water levels of the Yangtze River for weeks, the situation deteriorated rapidly. Many important tributaries, including the Han River and Qing River, overflowed simultaneously. The violent currents caused entire bustling riverside neighborhoods to virtually disappear beneath the floodwaters. Key lifeline bridges, symbols of connection and development, were washed away before the helpless eyes of the people. In the city of Yiqing, heartbreaking images were captured of rescue teams using boats and ropes to save families one by one. They had to pull residents out from the windows of flooded buildings because many were trapped on their rooftops, with no way out, as their stairwells were deeply submerged or had completely collapsed. The tragedy in Yunnan is perhaps the clearest testament to the destructive power of nature when human intervention is involved. At least 2 large dams in the province have failed, creating tsunami-like torrents that flattened and completely destroyed villages downstream. The force of the water was so strong that it caused streets to crack open. More tragically, the emergency siren systems in some places failed to activate in time, leaving residents with no time to react. The lucky evacuees who survived recounted in tears that they had only mere minutes to flee for their lives before their homes and lifelong possessions were swept away by the current. The aftermath is a dead land, bridges flattened, roads vanished, and cell towers toppled, completely severing crucial communication links with the outside world. Faced with this unprecedented disaster, rescue efforts are being carried out urgently, but are met with immense difficulties. Military units have been deployed with the most modern equipment, including helicopters, amphibious vehicles, and specialized boats. However, all efforts seem dwarfed by the might of nature. Accessing many isolated areas is nearly impossible due to deep mud, swift currents, and the completely destroyed road systems. On the humanitarian front, the situation is also incredibly dire. Emergency shelters such as schools, temples, and parking garages are all severely overcrowded. People are crammed into tight spaces, desperately waiting for the most basic necessities like food and dry clothes. In this context, officials have issued the highest level flood alert. The future outlook is incredibly bleak as meteorological agencies forecast that heavy rains will continue to fall in the coming days. This places the dams that have not yet failed under extreme pressure. The greatest fear now is that the even larger reservoirs upstream could collapse, a scenario that would exacerbate the already desperate situation and cause an even more horrifying catastrophe for China. The entire nation holds its breath, praying and bracing itself against the wrath of nature.